I had a friend commit suicide when I was in high school, and I was really mad at him. Thought he was being selfish. Um, that he was only thinking of himself when he killed himself. And I still kind of think that's true. Uh, I'm against suicide. In the Bible, there's 10 commandments. One of them is not to murder. And I think that includes yourself, right? I think it's kind of a sin. Uh, it's not good. I'm a survivor. I fight hard to survive. I have several times. I've noticed when chips are down, survivor mode kicks in. But lately, I've been thinking about suicide kind of in a different way. Um, it's when it starts to happen a lot, it's a failing of society, really. I think what was a bummer for the young person who committed suicide was that he had people in his life and he committed suicide anyway because he's a selfish prick. But there's a lot of people with no one in their lives. Like, no one would notice, really, if they just died. Ramesh's death, my neighbor's death, kind of hit me pretty hard because, like, they didn't notice, somebody smelled him before it was noticed, you know. He didn't, I'm pretty sure he didn't commit suicide. He was a smart young guy with stuff going on, some stuff happening, and parents, a dad that he still loved, and so forth. He was still engaged with other humans with this thing called love. So I know he didn't commit suicide. What it is, though, is it's sad that there are people in our society that they they've kind of already been eliminated in a way. It's already happened. The tragedy has already happened, and now they're just alone. They're still quote unquote alive. They're surviving, but most of the people they know are dead. Other people they're alienated from, they're not talking to anybody. They're kind of walking around like lonely zombies. And they're having some internet and stuff like that. And so suicide's pretty high among that group. And then that group, I don't really blame them. If there's no one in your life to consider you or to care, and you're not spending the holidays with anybody, nothing's happening. See, then you're deciding to take your own life. While I still think it's wrong, I don't think it is as impactful as somebody who has someone in their life. So, I don't know. What's sad though is how normalized it is that, oh, Jeff, it's just euthanasia, someone's just suffering and they're alone, and they just, some governments are even making it easier for them to take their own lives. What's sad about that is that the government knew that there were people suffering so badly they were ready to take their own lives and wasn't doing anything about it. And the society as a whole has just kind of given up. Kind of like, yeah, we're just going to always have a group of people that aren't the right demographic at that moment. And so they're kind of being flushed down the toilet, and we don't care about them. And that's okay. That's normal for there to be an abundance of people who made your society, worked hard, your society, paid taxes in your society, for them to be an abundance of them now that have a hip injury or something, and they're kind of stuck, and They don't have a lot of money or charisma or whatever. They're kind of alone, and that's okay. That's normal. There's just a lot of that, tons of that. That category is growing. People who not talking to anybody, no one in their life. Nothing's going to happen for them. And see, that's where the failure is. That's where the problem is. No one's including those people in their lives. Nothing's happening with those people. There's no community for them. There is no community, right? If I went to like a mental health counselor today and said, hey, you know what? I'm realizing the problem is all me. I'm just looking for a healthy community. Oh, God, I realize that El Toro, California has a garden and a walking path and older people, and no one's being evicted there. And there's lots of long-term residents with spatial memory and memory of the place. And there's healthy water and access to food and nutrients. And everything is okay here in El Toro, California. People are eating essential fatty acids and real foods. There's no abundance of processed foods on the shelves, and instead, everything's okay. We're taking care of it. 3 generations together. No old people are out there walking around alone. Old people, they all have younger people helping them, taking care of them. Kids are also not abandoned or left to be used as organ meat for Israel or, child humping demons elsewhere. None of that's happening because we actually have a community. So we know what's happening with our kids, right? We protect the kids, we respect our elders, and the people that are also producing for our community are not overtaxed to the point where they just stop producing, right? We're not doing that either. We're taking care of the producers. We're letting them be together, 3 generations or more, together in long-lasting communities with community memory. So that's what's healthy human society has been. It's that. Now it's changing with pressure from AI, but mainly pressure from super elites who are taking all the resources, taking all the water, taking all the land, taking everything and consolidating it away from you. Some demographics who had formerly had lots of rights and were formerly okay in certain areas, like it was okay to be a white male British citizen for a long time, and that was okay, and you could just work and be productive and pay taxes. Now that's no longer okay. You're no longer safe there. Replacement uh, a replacement population is being brought in by globalists and uh, corporate fascists like Keir Starmer are happy to not have people that have a memory of what happens, that know their rights, know the Magna Carta, know what's happening. They don't want that. They don't want that kind of a citizen who's building a community, part of a healthy community. They want a desperate newcomer or someone who'll just do what they say, kind of with no memory of that place, no loyalty to that place, and in fact is replacing whatever was there, right, with something else. Kind of like what happened in the highly concentrated pockets of Somali people in America. That's where it's kind of happened in America, is where the Somalis have been concentrated in Minnesota and Maine. But it's happening in a lot of places in Europe and Paris and London. Certain suburbs, certain areas of those cities have been destroyed already by not immigration. My immigrants came here. They loved America. That's why they came here. The Irish, that they became indentured servants. Actually, they weren't treated nicely a lot of times, right? They weren't given free housing. They were instead made to work really hard, low paying jobs to pay back their indentured contract or whatever the case may be. But the idea though is that they didn't come over here and then say, You know what? I'm gonna like rekindle my Gaelic and only speak Gaelic in my community. I'm not gonna speak any English here. That I'm here. I hate speaking English. That's imperial. That's American imperialism, white supremacy. I hate that. See, they weren't like that. They actually were trying to integrate, trying to fit in. They still had their own cliques, their own mafias. Let's face it, certain jobs were just held down by certain ethnicities in the New York area. That's just the way it was. You weren't going to get a job in the docks, unless you were Italian or whatever it was, whatever the case was. There's a lot of that, you know what I mean? But at the same time, what I'm saying is that they were still trying to integrate. They weren't trying to take over. They weren't thinking like, okay, now that we're here, let's just get all the white males out of here, get everyone out of here, anyone with any kind of cultural memory of what was here. Let's just destroy that and just completely renew this place with a concentration of us speaking our language here, right? And that's okay. I'm not an English only person. I think we should be having trilingual education, or at least bilingual, French and English in a lot of places, and Spanish and English in other places. Maybe Cantonese and English would be appropriate in other places. Bilingual education is better, it's superior. But what I'm saying though is about that. See, that's an effort to integrate populations. That's an effort to bring people into a new linguistic. They're talking. They're part of it. They're sharing a linguistic heritage now, learning the other person's language, learning their own language, creating this. So now to be Quebecois, you speak French and English, right? That's okay. That's fine. But no, now it's just take over, replace, hate. The operative thing now is that they hate the locals. They want the locals to die. They want the locals to just go away. No more locals. There are no locals. There's no locals in Palestine. There's no locals in England. The idea that there were Palestinians is a myth. We don't even in the rapid replacement, the killing, the genocidal ethnic cleansing that globalists are promoting now. You don't even acknowledge Palestine didn't exist. There is no Palestine. It's always just been Israel. Just forget it. Just no Palestine for you, bro. No Gaza. You're not going back there. Nope. It's going to be a resort town, beautiful high-end resort town, and you're free to work there kind of as a slave if you want to be kind of like a low second tier class citizen with low pay. You're fine. You can stay there maybe in the future. We'll see. For right now, we need to rape, torture, and kill you, and in order for you to go away. Anybody who says anything about that, we're going to call them an anti-Semite, right? And try to shut down all the platforms that have any truth. But so it's crazy what's going on. Nobody's acknowledging it. In England, certain channels, you tune in, you get a view of what's happening there. But then you tune into NPR, it's not even mentioned. I listened to NPR a lot yesterday, the way back and forth to work, and just heard a lot of stuff, but heard a lot about Trump and fascism. Ian Masters, I'm Ian Masters, and today I've got another person who wrote another book. And this book is Why Trump Sucks, Volume 23. Why Trump Sucks, Volume 23. Trump is the Only Fascist, Volume 27. That's my guest for today on Ian Masters' show. And they never mention the CIA. They just can't mention our CIA. It's really bizarre. They can't mention MI6. They can't mention the Mossad. They make fun of people that mention Mossad, actually. So they don't, Mossad's like some fairy or something. There is no Mossad. There's no MI6. There's no IDF. There's no Israel. There's no CIA. Nothing to see there. Nothing to worry about, right? No big deal. No one in power except Trump. And now what's he doing? Oh my God, what's he doing now? Oh, we heard but of course, he's so dumb, he doesn't even know about global politics. Now he's doing, oh my God. They just go on like that for hours. And you see and they feel like they're really the ones in the know. They feel like they're the cool kids and they're good tribe. They know what's happening. They have morals. They're morally correct. They know what's happening. They know what's right. Everyone who supports Trump is just duped idiot or they think a lot of people support Trump. A lot of people are out there that have positions that are contrary to the establishment or the global war machine. They're not Trump supporters, but anyway, they all get lumped together. They don't even know. They think there's this big white supremacy, a group of white supremacists out there that we just hate other ethnicities and women and stuff, and we're just loving being white males, and that's why we voted for Trump. And that's so they got this kind of vision that that's what's out there. I don't even think there's no one articulating that position. There's no one hearing any of that or seeing any of that. But that's their phantom. That's the boogeyman, the Trump voter. And so they're hyper focused on Trump and the Trump voter, and they can't see Raytheon, right? And that's all the way Hollywood idiots, people I used to really admire. Of course, good actors, really, maybe they never really were really smart at discerning world politics. Maybe that's not their forte, right? They're really good at acting. They're good at pretending to be something, getting in another role, somebody else's role. They're good. That's what they do. So we shouldn't be surprised when they turn out to be kind of mental retards, right? When they turn out to be kind of like a Robert De Niro. It shouldn't be surprising. He can be a good actor, but be an idiot in global politics at the same time. He can be a triggered, emotional idiot, but also be a good actor at the same time. That's true, right? Anyway, but that just says a lot about our culture. And I was talking about being alone and stuff like that. So, in this culture, need for community, need for 3 generations, there is no community. Suicide. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of suicide. There is a lot of suicide. It happens a lot. A lot of people are just up with this choice, where the thing that made them money or the community that they were a part of is gone. Community they're a part of is gone. Their job as a kombucha maker, nobody's drinking kombucha or something. So whatever it is, they're done. They've kind of become obsolete. And then we didn't have any kind of structure or society to say, hey, that's okay, Mr. Smith. We still think you're an important person. We're going to give you Social Security. That's going to be enough. It's going to take care of you in your older age. Well, now we know Social Security is not enough. And if you didn't do a lot of awesome investing when you're younger and never had any medical needs, then, you might be in a position where you really don't have enough to retire. You're not sitting on enough. You had a problem. You had to go to Kaiser Permanente one day. And then you're one day at Kaiser Permanente, boom, they hit you with $30,000 worth of bills, right? So you went $30,000 in debt while you were already in your 60s because of a bad day at Kaiser Permanente. And there's no help, there's no relief for any of that. So basically, you're financially drained by the HMO Wall Street medical situation or by dentist or whatever the case. Something's financially draining you while you're working. Some parasite. Now, a dentist is somebody who gives you something. They work hard. They need to get paid well. The whole structure around the dentist, the dental insurance that takes up all this money, the dental establishment that you have to now make payments to because you're $20,000 in debt to your dentist. So that stuff, that all needs to go away. It needs to be between you and your dentist, you and your doctor, and that's not the case. And we know that. But instead, we're going to blame the person who had, he had a hip surgery when he was 65 and he doesn't have a good job. And so now he's kind of in debt. There's no retirement anymore. Whatever he had that was kind of invested wrongly on Wall Street anyway, his whatever, it's no longer a pension. It's some sort of strange investment account. That's probably been drained down to nothing anyway, That's not his fault. So, but now he's in a situation where he feels like it's his fault. He's internalized the fact that it's his fault that he's had medical problems or what have you, and his income. So when your income, and so the other thing is that capitalists, there's a downward pressure on income, right? We have to acknowledge, it's not like I can just be like, hey boss, it seems weird, but Kaiser's trying to get a lot of money out of me just for this one X-ray, and they say I really need it. So is it okay if you just pay me about $10 more an hour? Because that's kind of what I need in order to actually keep paying the rent, and then to still to give Kaiser what they're wanting from me now. I'm kind of just needing to. So no, the pressure is actually the guy at the factory. He's kind of like, well, no, my job is to cut cost, Jeff, and you're a cost. So I'm sorry. No, yeah, we've actually kind of cut. We're holding that steady. That's totally stagnant. Whatever you fought for, whatever you got as a wage, no, that's stagnant. That's not growing at all. But how much you're going to pay on interest on your student loan, that's going to exponentially keep expanding forever. How much you owe because you got an X-ray or something, or maybe you just don't get the X-ray and you die. That's another thing. Is like people don't even have to commit suicide now. It's just medical neglect. They can get like vaccinated and then get super cancer and then just die of the turbo cancer. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people who don't die of the turbo cancer and they're still living, kind of quote unquote living, but they don't have like answers financially and they got health problems. And so in their kind of state of limbo, they're alone. And then probably they're thinking, hey, if I just gonna step in front of this truck or something, that's gonna feel a lot better than me just spending another day walking around in pain alone with no answers. You know what I mean? But we shouldn't normalize that. What we should do is ask the society, why are there a bunch of people walking around who contributed to making this society that we no longer care about? They're walking around so lonely, so in pain that they're thinking of killing themselves. Why is that normal? Why is there a huge group of that? What can we do to improve something about that? That's the way that discussion needs to go, and not what's wrong with that person. Look, it's how can we help them, and how can we make communities maybe where actually old people could actually be with younger people. Now, again, this is not a problem for rich people because if you're rich, that's still happening. Your family's still together. You're okay. You're in a gated community. You can still walk outside and throw a football in front of your house and not get mugged because you're in a gated community. Everything's okay. 3 generations playing together. It's good. Right outside that gated community, though, the people that work and that wipe your ass and do your dishes, wash your cars, and take your kids to school and teach your kids and all that kind of stuff. Those people, they are now facing this situation where they can't get medical procedures. You've been told they all have coverage, that they're all covered. That's what everyone at my work, when I tell them, oh, you have Kaiser, don't you, Jeff? You have Kaiser. What's wrong? They look at me like I'm doing something wrong. Like Kaiser, the medical system, being a member of Kaiser is just so awesome. It's just I just can't, I can't do it right or something. I can't hear English or something. So I'm just retarded and it's my fault. You know what I mean? My failing health problems, So anyway, we need a better community. We need to help people. The fact that we're letting our old people just wander off and kill themselves is not a good trend. That is not a good trend, not a good thing. And so we should blame suicide people or vilify them or do anything. We should help them before they become suicidal. Less suicide, less suicidal tendencies, less people wandering around with a death wish because they're part of life, part of an active community and actively alive. That's what we need to promote and do. All right. Y'all have a good one.